Hi everyone. Apple Classroom is some software and application that can be used to manage and monitor student iPads while they're in your class. A number of you have trained with me on how to use this on the iPad, and now Apple has released this same software for the MacBook. So you'd be able to install this Apple Classroom application on your laptop and monitor students' iPads from there and manage them. You can lock them into apps, you can send them to different websites. It works very much the same way that it does on the iPad. If you haven't been using Apple Classroom but would like to, now's maybe a chance to give it a try on your laptop, or you may want to use your iPad. I still kind of like the idea of being able to use it on an iPad. That way, if you're using your laptop for class, say for a presentation or for something up on the screen, you can still use the iPad separately to monitor and to manage what the kids have going on their iPad. As far as I can tell, you have to create different classes. So if you have Apple Classroom on your iPad, you create a class. All the students that are in your class, say for a given class period, join that class and you can manage it from there. You'd have to create two separate classes, one on your iPad and one on your MacBook. Let me show you where to get it on your laptop. You're going to want, I already have it installed and it looks like this right here. We were using self-service on the laptops, or we're starting to use self-service on the laptops like we have been using it on the iPads. And so someplace on your laptop, you should have self-service installed. The application looks like this. I have it on my dock. You can also find it by going up to this magnifying glass and just typing in self-service. It'll start to pop up. And all you have to do is hit return and self-service will open. It opens up. It may ask you if you want to allow for notifications. You can go ahead and allow those. When it opens up, it probably opened up the feature. And you should see Apple Classroom here. It'll say install on yours, and you can go ahead and click install, and it probably takes 5 to 10 minutes for it to install. You can do other things while that's happening in the background. Just leave self-service open. You can see here, Angie's also put in here, just an aside for a second, this repair, fix my Mac. If you're having trouble with your Mac being slow, kind of laggy, and you've tried restarting it and you haven't had any luck, this cleans out some logs and some caches and some other things in the background. And then also after doing that, restarts, runs your computer through a full shutdown and restart sequence. You can go ahead and click repair and it'll run you through that. It does a little more than just a restart or a shutdown. So keep that in mind as well. So I'm going to go ahead and open Classroom up. If you've used Classroom before on an iPad, you may not need to watch this. It is really similar. One thing that you can do is enter teacher info here. So the name that you want kids to see in their settings. And then I'm going to go ahead and create a class. We'll call this technology. Give it an icon, choose a color, and go ahead and hit create. You'll see the class show up there. You can go ahead and click into it. And if you don't have any students, you'll see this Add Students button here. There's also an Add Students button right up here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Add Students. I'm going to jump on my iPad, and I'm actually going to switch. I'm going to stop this recording, and I'm going to start recording my iPad screen so you can see what it looks like for a student. And then we'll jump back to my laptop screen so that you can see what it looks like from the teacher side again. All right, so we can see my iPad screen now. So I'm going to go ahead, if I was a student, in order to join your class, you go into settings. And they have to make sure that Bluetooth is on. So right here, make sure Bluetooth is on. And then they should see Classroom show up once you've hit that Add Student button. The option to add classes will show up. And there's a couple things you want to do here. Where it says, you want to make sure that where it says allow teacher to, the students change this to always, and both of these should be set to always. So when the students go in there, make sure they are set to always. If they're not, once they join your class and you try to lock their iPads or view their screen, you'll get a notification that they have it set. So their choices are always, allow, or never. This is a school-owned iPad, so we get to make the rules with it. And so we can make them set this to always. And if they don't, if they decide that they want to change that, because they can change it, then yeah, there. So always, ask, or never. It should always be set to always. They can manually change that, but if they are, then there needs to be a consequence, especially if they're continuing to do it. All right, so I'm going to hit Add Technology. We can see that my information is technology with Mr. Anderson. And when you hit add students, there was a code that popped up or a PIN number that popped up on your screen. And so they will enter it in there. They'll get a screen that says waiting. And so they'll wait for that. I'm actually going to go look at that quick and see what it is. 644. I'm going to hit add. And now you'll see that it says waiting for teacher. All right, so I'm going to jump back off of my iPad and start recording my computer screen again so you'll see the teacher view. All right, so once the student adds the PIN number, I had a little technical difficulty, so I had to make a change. You'll see a different PIN number. Every time you add students, it gives you a different PIN number. So I re-added myself. So I'm back in the laptop view now, teacher laptop view. You can see this is my iPad here. This is the student iPad. I'm going to go ahead and hit add. It'll add me in. You'll see icons here for each kid. Across here, you'll see different groups. Right now, my iPad's in the settings app, so you can see a little clip of that. It'll also put it into a group that says what app I'm in. So say there was Safari, and you had a bunch of students in Safari, they'd be there. iExcel was open, and there's some kids in there, that would be there, and so forth. And so you can manage these groups. You can also create your own groups right here. So if you click this, name it, and it's real easy. Then you just click the students that you want to be in that group. If you need to edit that group, then once you've created it, you two-finger click on it, and away you go, and you can take students out. Going back to if you ever need to add students, this is the icon right here to add students once you've sort of done that initial setup. Working across the top, all of these things can be found up here as well. You can also get some things by right-clicking. You can do some things to an individual iPad. So like if I want to do that to an individual iPad, I can just right-click or two-finger click on it. But some things you can do are open apps, which is this icon. If you want to lock them in an app, you can. On the iPad version, the teacher iPad and the student iPad had to have the same apps on them. Obviously, that's not possible on a Mac and an iPad. And so what you get is just a list of the apps. I believe these are all the apps that are on my iPad. If we had other students, I think these apps would show up. Or maybe it would be just the apps that they have in common, but most of them should have the same or similar apps. Right down here, if I want to just open an app and send them to it, I can. If I want to lock them in the app, I can do that as well. Backing up, you can do this whole group, you can do it to those smaller groups, and you can do it to an individual iPad, which is really nice. So you can lock them in, you go ahead and hit open, the app will open, and they'll be locked in until you let them out. One thing about Safari, you can lock them in Safari, but they can navigate around. You can't lock them into an individual website. This next icon here actually opens bookmarks in Safari. So if you have something bookmarked and you want to open that up on the student iPads, you can do that. Right here, you can also lock them into that app, but they can, like I said, they're not locked into that website. They can navigate around. We can also open up some iBooks, and I believe you have to have this content on both your Mac and the student iPad. The iBook will be on their iPad, but maybe not. I'm not sure. You can give that a try. I haven't used that much. All right, so that's that icon. Next icon, hit cancel and get out of there. Next icon is to lock student iPads. Basically, when I do this on my iPad, a big padlock shows up and it says this iPad's been locked by Mr. Anderson. Again, you can do this whole group or individually, and then you can, if you lock them whole group, you can still go back in and individually unlock. And now it shows it as being locked. Hit done. If I wanted to whole group unlock, I can go up here and see that it shows unlock now. If I wanted to unlock just this individual iPad, I can. So very flexible. You can mute all the iPads. They can turn them right back up. Doesn't turn the sound off, but at least you're starting there. And you could also just play the game of mute. They turn it up, mute. They turn it up, mute. They turn it up. Exam. Right now you can see the student's view. If you want to see their screens, flip there. My iPad's not on, or it was locked out. I'm going to log back in, and you'll be able to see what's going on my screen. You'll be able to see a thumbnail here. If I want to go into it, double click on it, but now I can see up close what I have open. And it's pretty responsive. As I'm changing this, it's changing pretty much right along with me. I'm going to show all students again over here, and then I see the thumbnails. Here, some of you are going to be getting Apple TVs very soon, and when those are set up, you can either have the students AirPlay and show what's on their screens. It's going to be easier than Reflector 2, or you can literally click this. Say for right now my iPad selected, AirPlay, it's going to look for Apple TVs. Once you see your Apple TV, you can hit it. So you can show what kids are doing on their iPad as well. And then we talked about those already. When you're done, you hit end class. You get a little update of or a little report of what was going on in your class. So if there's a bunch of apps used, it would show who used them, or how many students were in them for sort of how long, and then you can see the students that joined the class. You can't export this, but you could take a screenshot of it if you needed to. That's Classroom. Thanks for joining me. I hope you find this useful. I can see where some teachers that have been, I know some teachers that have been using it, and they said it's really a game changer for them in terms of using the iPad as a tool in their classroom. So I encourage you to check it out, install it, and make use of it. If you need any help, let me know. I'd be glad to help you.